Welcome to Soul Care. This is a little time in your week to recharge your spirit and hopefully to bring you hope. This is the week of Epiphany, January 6th, sometimes called Three Kings Day. It's often celebrated as the Feast of Epiphany the previous Sunday, which is often the first Sunday in January. So we begin the year in the season of light. It's the idea that we have followed the star to Bethlehem, and then we continue in that light of the star until we enter a period of darkness, which we call Lent, as we journey with Christ to the cross. So this is our moment of light, a time to bring hope to one another. And we need light this week. It's been a difficult week. We've experienced tension around the runoff election for senators in Georgia and the crazy controversy around the Electoral College results, all in the middle of the deadly coronavirus pandemic and the terrible spread that we keep reading about all around us. Now everybody knows someone who has or has had the coronavirus. Some of you haven't gotten it yet. Most of us, we hope we never will. We're hoping for that vaccine. And it's somewhat overwhelming and frustrating and frightening. It's truly a dark time. We need light in this time. One of the readings for this season is the prologue of John's Gospel. I'd like to read it today because this time when I read it, I saw something new. That's often the way it is with Bible reading. You can read the same passage again and again, but often you have a new take. So I'd like to share that take with you today. This is the Gospel of John, chapter 1, verses 1 to 14. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came into being through him, and without him not one thing came into being. What has come into being in him was life, and the life was the light of all people. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. He came as a witness to testify to the light, so that all might believe through him. He himself was not the light, but he came to testify to the light. The true light, which enlightens everyone, was coming into the world. He was in the world, and the world came into being through him, yet the world did not know him. He came to what was his own, and his own people did not accept him. But to all who received him, who believed in his name, he gave power to become children of God, who were born not of blood or of the will of the flesh or of the will of man, but of God. And the Word became flesh and lived among us, and we have seen his glory, the glory as of a Father's only Son, full of grace and truth. All four Gospels tell of John the Baptist coming before Christ. But this Gospel, the latest one written, is the most mysterious. I noticed this time, upon reading this prologue, the sentences, "He came as a witness to testify to the light, so that all might believe through him. He himself was not the light, but he came to testify to the light." What would happen if we entered this new year testifying to the light? Even in this dark time of COVID and this time of political unrest, what would happen if we decided to testify to the light? It might be a little crazy to exude light and hope right now. People might look at us like we were nuts. But instead of being afraid, could we be confident? Could we assert that life will get better? I had a conversation with a friend who told me how her daughter is doing everything she can to help her children with online learning, to make it a good experience for them in spite of this difficult time. She planned outings and organized games and learning activities. She was very creative in engaging the children in meaningful play and work. She was working full-time herself from home, but she managed to be a steady presence and a steady source of optimism for her children. She has been their light. This is an example for me. I'm thinking, what can I do to be a beacon of light for others? It's a dark time, but can't we rally a spirit of hope and shine it like light onto a path so that others can find their way more easily? Walter Brueggemann has a poem called Epiphany. I'd like to share it. On Epiphany Day, we are still the people walking. We are still people in the dark, and the darkness looms large around us, beset as we are by fear, anxiety, brutality, violence, loss, a dozen alienations that we cannot manage. We could be people of your light. So we pray for the light of your glorious presence as we wait for your appearing. We pray for the light of your wondrous grace as we exhaust our coping capacity. We pray for your gift of newness that will override our weariness. We pray that we may see and know and hear and trust in your good rule, that we may have energy, courage, and freedom to enact your rule through the demands of this day. We submit our day to you and to your rule with deep joy and high hope. There's a lot to think about there. This poem gives the idea that we may have to pray for energy, courage, and freedom through this time, because there are demands put on us and we feel lacking in so many ways. Brueggemann says, in what really is a prayer, we could be people of your light, speaking to God. So we pray for the light of your glorious presence as we wait for your appearing. We pray for the light of your wondrous grace as we exhaust our coping capacity. We pray for your gift of newness that will override our weariness. I think this is how we do it. We pray for light and we pray for hope. We may not see it yet, but we can believe in it. We can know that it will come. We can hope. We can hope for light. We can act as if we feel it already. I think that's what John did. He testified to the light. He acted as if he saw it. and he assured the people around him that it would come in the form of a man called Jesus. It was as if this man had been promised from the beginning of time, because we have needed the light since the beginning of time. We need Epiphany. We need it now, because if we didn't believe in light, we simply couldn't live in eternal darkness. We couldn't go on. We need to know in our hearts that there is light, and we can be light for the people around us. And we can look forward to the time when the darkness will end. Just coming up in the next days, there will be a new administration in office. And then we can look forward to a time when all people will be vaccinated from this COVID-19 virus. We know it's coming. We can pray that God's gift of newness will override our weariness. And then maybe we will be filled with deep joy and high hope. May it be so.